So this is exercise 1. The first thing I do when I have started a new project is I go straight over to the Assets panel and I change the colour of 3 folders in particular, just so that it makes it a lot easier for me to quickly, at a glance, see where they are. So I change the colour of the rooms, and I change the colour of the sprites folder, and I also change the colour of the objects folder, because these are the 3 folders that I am going to go into most often. Alright, so what we want to achieve in this quick tutorial is to create a simple sprite, attach that sprite to an instance of an object, place that object into our room, so into the game, and use a key down event to move that sprite, to move that object around the room. So first things first, let's create our simple piece of sprite artwork. So for that, I need to right click on the sprites folder. Actually, that's probably a good thing that happens. So just noticing there, when you click on the actual folder image, the little icon that has the folder on it, it will bring up the color picker. So you actually have to click on the text part. So those 2 areas will bring up different, if you right click on those, they'll bring up different things. So right click on where it says sprites, create and sprite. Okay, so I'm going to call this sprite SPR, which is the prefix for all of your sprites. All sprites have to be prefixed with SPR, and I'm just going to call it smiley face. Okay, and then of course I need to click on edit image so that I can draw my smiley face. So this will be a very quick smiley face. Here we go. Now that's that is a circle that has not been filled in. If I wanted it to be a circle that was filled, I would have to click on the side over here in the image where it shows that it's been filled in. So 2 different ways of doing that. Of course, you've also got the paint bucket tool, which you can use to fill shapes in. All right, so there's a circle, and let's just do a quick mouth and 2 eyes. Okay. There's our simple sprite. Now I'm going to close this so it's saved automatically. I'm just going to close this tab and get out of it, and I'll get out of this. Alright, so there's my artwork. Now of course you can't just drag the sprite into the room. What you need to do, so you'll get an error message, what you need to do is actually attach that sprite image to an object, because we want to be placing objects into the room. So we haven't got an object yet, so let's create one. Right click, create object. And once again we have our 3-letter prefix, which in this case is OBJ, and I'll call it smiley face once again. Okay. So that's the name of our object, and it still doesn't have the sprite art attached to it. So you can see here it says no sprite. Now you don't have to have a sprite attached to an object, but if you want to see it, you do. And we do want to see it. So I'm going to find my smiley face, and there we go. Okay. So now that we have attached it to the object, what I would like to do is add some events to this object. Now, just remembering that, of course, we still haven't dragged it in, so let's do that first. There we go. So we could actually drag a number of these in too. It's unlimited, really. And each of these are what we refer to as an instance of the object. So here's an instance of the OBJ smiley face object, and here's another instance of the OBJ smiley face object. So that's just some terminology for you. I'm just going to click and delete those so that we just have one. All right, So let's go and add those events. So how do we get back to that? Well, there's two ways. You can click on the tab up here to go back to your workspace, or alternatively, you can just double click on OBJ smiley face and it will open it up here in your workspace for you. So let's add an event. The first event I'm going to add is the create event. This event, it activates as soon as the object is created, and if the object is destroyed, then this all disappears as well. So it's all kind of inside that object, if you will. So up the top here, we can add a description, but I don't think it's really necessary here, so I'm just going to leave that. If you wanted to add some comments along the way, you could. So I might just add one here. Okay, create a variable for the speed. All right, because that's what I'm about to do. Now, if I wanted to write more than that, say that really required a paragraph of explanation, then I would need to use a different type of comment marker there. I would actually need to use the / followed by an asterisk. And then to finish it, you would need to close it off with asterisk and same thing /. Okay, let's create a variable. I'm going to call this variable move speed. Okay, you can call it whatever you like. There are some words that are protected within GameMaker Studio, and those are special words that you can't use, but you can obviously look up the manual and find a list of those protected words, but move speed is fine. So then the equal sign, which of course means a sign, so it doesn't mean it's equal to. If it's equal to, it's two of those. But if we're assigning a value to something, then it's just a single equal sign. And I'm going to set the speed to 5 frames per second. All right, so there's our variable, and that's just a variable is just a little piece of space on the computer where you can store things. In this case, I've stored the digit 5. Let's add another event. This event is going to be a key down event. So you'll notice there's key down and there's key pressed. So key down will work so long as the key is pressed and held down. And then once the key is released, then it will stop. And key pressed, if you have key pressed, you have to keep pressing it over and over and over and over and over again. So it'll just give you a different effect. You can play around with these things to see what happens. I'm going to add an event for the left, right, up and down arrows. And what do we want to put in these? Well, what I'm going to say is that, so in the case of the left key, and by the way, just make sure that, can you see here how that is highlighted? It says key down left. But over here, even though that's highlighted, you can see that I'm actually in the down tab. So it looks like it should be the left one, but it's not. So you actually have to double click these to activate the correct tab. You can get caught out by that because it does really seem like when you click on it, it's going to flick across, but it doesn't. So just make sure you're on the right tab with these. Okay, for this, to move it left, I am working with the x-axis because the x-axis, of course, is the horizontal axis. So I'm going to say when the left key is pressed and held down, I would like the x position of course, this object, because that's what we're inside at the moment, to be assigned a value of what? What was our variable called? Move speed. Okay, I would like it to be assigned a value of x minus move speed. And you can see that it's actually popping up here already because we've created it, so it's there for us to select. Okay, so why is it minus? Well, it is minus because if you look at this grid, 0 is actually up here at the top left corner. That's 0. So that's 0x and that's 0y. So if I want to move along in a direction from left to right along the horizontal plane, along the x-axis, then I will be moving from 0 this way, and it will be going positive x, so x1, x2, x3, x4, etc., etc., etc. And same goes for y, only in the other direction. This is 0y, and I will be increasing the number as I move down. So it would be y1, y2, y3, y4, y5, and so on. So it's a little bit different to what you may have learnt in maths, with 0 being at the centre. You just have to get used to that. So just thinking about when we want to move left, if we're taking this smiley face and we're moving left, we are of course going closer to 0. So we are decreasing the value. And so that's why we are taking away. We are saying we want the position x to be whatever it is, minus 5. And if we wanted to go right, so I'll double click here, it would be a similar story except that we would be adding. So in this instance we would say still on the x-axis, but we need to add move speed. There we go. And you may have noticed here that I end my statements with a semicolon. It will probably let you do it without that, but it's good practice to get into the habit of doing that all the time, because other languages such as Python are not so forgiving. So there's our left and our right. Let's have a look and see if that's working. I'm going to press F5 to start the game. Okay, so now press the left and the right. So I hold it down, or I can press it repeatedly. And it will go off the screen at this stage. Even though you can't see it, it's still there because I haven't put any instructions in there, any code in there to have the instance destroyed. But there are some things that we will learn later on about how to set up limits so that your sprite stays within the stage. Okay, and so as you can imagine, for up and down, it is a similar story, but we are obviously looking at the y-axis. So here we have the up button, and we're going to say we want y to equal y. Going up means going towards 0, so it's actually taking away. Okay, ending with a semicolon. And then we have the down button, so that will be y. Moving down is moving away from 0, which means positive. Okay, let's have a quick look and make sure that they're all working. Press F5. So left, right, still working, up and down. Perfect.